All right, Ashton, this is round two with you. In the first one, we talked about who you are, how you got started with Freedom Fitness Equipment, and quite a bit more. So let's start out with what you are seeing these days in the world of gym equipment, any themes or characteristics of the market that you think more people should know about.
Yeah, so this is kind of my state of the union on the gym equipment marketplace. And by the way, I've been thinking about doing this. I'm planning on doing a State of the Union YouTube video to talk a little bit more at length about the industry. But so right now, what you're seeing is what everybody else is seeing. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Prices are up on new equipment. And I've seen a couple of different things, right? I've seen prices up and prices down. I've seen prices up on the majority of equipment, but I've seen prices down on things like kettlebells, dumbbells. I've seen a lot of 89 cent, 75 cent, 99 cent deals. And I talked with the owner of Frey Fitness, and I think the reason for that is all of those container loads from China just came in. So he had a backlog of about 18 months, and now he's just trying to liquidate inventory to get some free cash flow. And I think that's what's going on. So you're going to see all of that once the inventory gets swept out. All those prices are going to go back up to $2 a pound for hex dumbbells plus. So all the prices at Walmart are going to continue to skyrocket. I just don't think that it's going to stabilize at up, so everything's going to be pricier. I warned people about this back in like the middle to the end of pandemic. Honestly, if you had bought in the middle of the pandemic or even at the end of the pandemic, you'd actually be doing better than now, which is crazy. I just saw, just as some examples. So high temps are selling on Rogue's website for $3 a pound plus. Benches are higher across the board. And I was just talking to my repair tech about this. The in-flight functional trainer cost is now $1,000 more than it was just last year, which for a functional trainer is insane. I mean, that's like an economy functional trainer. It doesn't seem like it should be that much more, but it is. In the used equipment market, I'm seeing some interesting trends. I'm seeing there's obviously there's a little bit more inventory now available in the used market just because people are slowly coming back from COVID, going back into the office and selling some of their home gym equipment. It's not as much as you would think. I don't think we're seeing this huge glut of used equipment, but we are seeing some and higher prices, like like an assault bike. Some of the nicer ones are only $100 to $200 less than retail on some of the used market. So I think that's also a trend that's going in the wrong direction. So everything in the used market is going up. I still think best buys are in the used market anyway. You just like the pandemic, you've got to be super quick about scouring inventory, looking on Facebook Marketplace, looking on Craigslist, and just hopping on it. Because I've talked to a bunch of people that are still trying to get deals, and they're like, yeah, this guy had something up and it was gone in 15 minutes. So the demand is still there, and I don't think it's going to go away, especially as new equipment prices continue to skyrocket. People are going to be jumping into the home gym used market. I know some guys have talked to you about that as well. Yeah, I mean, buy stuff now. It sounds like a panic scenario, but that's my recommendation. Whether it's new or used, buying now is going to be the best time to buy. I would not usually ever say that. I would always say be patient, wait, things will come down. It's just not happening. So the inflation's just going to absolutely take a beating. This is not a political statement. It's what's happening. Inflation is going to eat everybody alive. And I think we're going to see a lot of businesses that started up during the pandemic fail or get consolidated, which we'll talk about. Yeah, you're just going to see that continue to rise. So that's my brief opinion on what's going on right now with the State of the Union.
Yeah, you mentioned my follow-up question right there. Do you see any companies not making it past this? It seems like from my end, and a few people have reached out, like, this is a weird sale, or they are going out of business. And that's kind of the vibe it feels like for some of these companies that are like doing these garage sales or overstock sales. Is this like a last-ditch effort for some of them, do you think?
The ones that have the capital, they're fine. They're just trying to free up cash flow. I think their margins are still good enough to where they're honestly probably still making a profit or just barely making a profit, even on like a fire sale like that. The companies that are going to get hit the worst are, I'm gonna call this guy. I love this guy to death. I've talked to him before. the inventor of microgains. I think he's going to get swept up with a lot of the other companies that were created during COVID. The gentleman that created the really thin plates.
Wait it out.
There we go. Wait it out. There we go. And some of the other players that started creating those kinds of products during the pandemic, I think they're going to either get swept up and acquired or just completely go out of business. I just don't think. I think they're seeing that the marketplace may not be as sustainable compared to obviously the big players like Road Titan and Rep, and the niche is just going to get unfortunately smaller and smaller. I know the home gym market is growing. I just don't see. I don't see how their marketing efforts are going to be able to stay consistent, especially with rising prices, because along with rising prices is rising production, and they're still small players without the kind of buying power as the big boys.
Would you guess more of this consolidation would be coming specifically from Rogue, or do you see some other companies kind of trying to merge?
Here's my opinion on that. So Rogue made a massive play for Ghost, and that put them in like the S tier, like super echelon for premium gym equipment. They already have some of those products, but like, in my opinion, that set them up for very custom, very nice high-end stuff that they didn't necessarily have. They started with a little bit with like the Zeus barbells and some of the customization they already have, but acquiring Ghost really put them in the market for like, you know, the Soren X types of the Arsenal kind of like super custom build outs. And if Rep Fitness, I don't think Titan's gonna make a play for consolidation with any of these players, but if Rep Fitness doesn't do that with a company or two, I could see Rogue. At one point I would have said I think Rep Fitness is going to catch up, but if Rogue starts doing more of these acquisitions, I think they're going to start pulling away. I just don't see how a company like Rep Fitness could keep up if that were the case. I mean, the best way to grow those companies, or grow Rogue, in my opinion, at this point, would just be to like start acquiring some of these smaller players like I was talking about and crush every other piece of competition because they've got the capital to do it.
I was chatting with somebody who made some really good points with like Rogue picking up Ghost and making all of their new equipment releases have been high end. It seems like they are trying to corner the market on like the strength sports. So they're trying to dominate strongman, powerlifting, CrossFit still, and they're probably going to let like Titan and Rogue battle it out for the $1,000 and $2,000 home gyms. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that if Rep lets them do that, they're going to get away with it. So I think, like I said, if Rep doesn't make a similar kind of acquisition, they're going to be, they might be in trouble as Rogue pulls away.
Like who though?
I don't know. I mean, so they would have to acquire somebody like, I mean, Rep would probably honestly have to acquire somebody like Bells of Steel. And they're big, but you know, I just to get a handle on like the strength side, but Bells of Steel doesn't even have that much. I'm trying to think if their product lineup. They're expanding, but they're not like super into a crazy amount of strength equipment yet. I'm trying to think who else they could possibly go after other than like the commercial players like Life Fitness, Hammer Strength, or some of the other guys, but I can't think of anybody right now because Ghost was, relatively speaking, a smaller company, and I don't know.
You know who I think would really add some value to a big company would be the AbMat, like AbMat. I think they'd morph with a couple of companies pretty well. I've always thought like there's huge value in like there's like resistance band companies like Clinch Fitness who like does a ton of resistance band content. Like they'd be easy to plug in. You know, there's like Microgains, like Microgains would be a great addition to somebody. They've got the strong American brand. I think you're right that there's consolidation coming, and I don't know why it hasn't yet.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of these companies have good social presence, really strong brands. Maybe they've been approached and it's just hard to give up your thing, but I think there's a lot of potential in those sorts of partnerships.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was what happened with Ghost, right? I mean, for anybody listening that if you don't know what happened with Ghost, so the owner just, if you go to the Ghost Strong's Instagram page, the owner wrote a very heartfelt letter about everything that's happened with his family and all the stuff that he's gone through that led up to this point in Rogue acquiring them. And there's a lot of stress and personal stuff going on. I think a lot of these other companies, if they get acquired, like you said, and they've been approached before. It's going to take something like that to get them to kind of leave their baby, or in this recessionary period that's coming up, if they're having to dump their assets, that's going to be another thing. But one of those two is going to cause some sort of either out of business or acquisition play. I don't know what it is though.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me. Anything else on that topic you'd want to mention?
Yeah, I'll have to think about. That's a really good question you brought up about like what companies it would make sense. So I found so it's something interesting I found out too on that topic is the reason why Titans is able to keep their costs so low and be consistently like not bottom of the barrel, but like consistently churn out product. They actually own the factory in China. They don't just distribute from it; they actually own it. I don't know if you knew that, but so they're able to get prices that are even better than wholesale pricing for retail.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure they're not the only ones who own their own factories. So, I think if you get large enough, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But I really don't want to speak because I'm not 100% sure on anybody else. But yeah, I've heard that about Titan too.
Yeah, because I heard back in the pandemic, like Rogue bought up a bunch of manufacturing, labor for like 6 or 8 months just to push all the other competitors out. And it's interesting to me that if that's the case, like they don't own whoever's doing if they're just going to buy the production, just buy the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just me.
Well, this is just two home gym nerds geeking out about what could possibly happen. Honestly, I don't really have any idea. So just kind of want to make that clear. Like we're just guessing. So, I mean, you see this in like the tech space all the time. They're like, who's Apple going to buy? Who's Google going to buy? That's kind of what we're doing. But all right, let's chat about your business. What's going on with your business these days?
Yeah, everything's been great. So we're on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, real quick, let's talk about your business. But for someone who may not know exactly what you do, more information in episode 1. But could you just really quickly go over what Freedom Fitness Equipment is?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a new and used gym equipment seller. We mainly focus on used gym equipment. That's kind of our bread and butter. But we do have new lines available. I've made it our mission to have everybody that comes into our store or everybody that we're selling to make sure that we're understanding their training style, their methods, their space, and we're not just another seller. And so we're not selling them on the highest margin items or the thing that we think we can make the best killing on. We're trying to create something that is custom for you, even if it is used. So if it's you and your gym space, the best, whether that's a home gym, a personal training studio, or a commercial gym. So that's what we're all about.
And what's going on these days?
So we're doing really well, even from the last time that we talked to you. We've actually come from the backside of our warehouse area in Charlotte to the front side of the building into we've doubled our square footage. And we're currently looking to probably triple or quadruple that space within the next year. The problem is right now, obviously, we can't, like anything else, finding new warehouse space is expensive, but it's a good thing. I mean, we're turning down inventory, so business is going well, but our revenue is good, and we just continue to sell a ton of new and used gym equipment. I mean, people keep coming in, so we keep getting more home gym users and a lot of more personal training studios. And recently, like we've made more of a push towards like the nice rolled rubber flooring and gym flooring that you would see in commercial spaces. And that is getting a ton of attention. So we're doing an install in the next 2 weeks for a couple of apartment complexes here. So anyway, it's just been fun. And as a business owner, I just love to see people getting more excited about the brand. The other thing which I'll mention, which I talked to you a little bit before we started recording, is we're trying to really make a push into and like lean into our brand, Freedom Fitness, in a couple different ways. So we're starting to target more fire, EMS, and police, so first responders, and help those guys out as much as possible. So I've done a couple of videos now about the more I talk to these firefighters, the more I'm realizing that these departments, the counties and towns that they're a part of, don't give them a hill of beans for funding. So I really got a fire lit under my butt because I'm talking to these guys and they're like, yeah, we're having to beg, borrow, and steal for a new truck that's going to save somebody's life in a burning building. And I'm like, how is that a thing? like you're not getting money for new equipment that could save somebody's life. So what I'm trying to do is just go in and say, hey guys, I know you don't have funding for literally anything. If the guys want to pool together a couple of $100, I'll try to see what I can do and just give you guys some used equipment. So that's really just what I'm trying to do to help these stations out with the stuff that's kind of tangentially related to their job, like the fitness and the health portion that could keep them going on the job. And it's working. I mean, we're going to be attending the Southeastern Fire Conference Convention Expo thing in Raleigh. We're going to be attending 2 to 3 others between like August and January of next year. And I'm super excited because the firefighters are awesome. Police officers are awesome. And we really love serving those guys. So anyway, that's where the brand is leaning. And I'm super excited about it because that was kind of our intention this whole time, is to really work with the guys that are protecting, serving, defending our country, really helping our communities. And the more that we can kind of give back to those guys and help those guys out, the more I think our brand will grow. And the more, honestly, I think we'll all get out of it. So that's been really fun. You know, it's just me and my wife still working on the business. We're a ways away from getting employees or anything like that. We've got help that comes in from time to time, but things are going well, and we're just continuing to expand and grow. I didn't think we would be here, honestly, Jake. I thought, you know, we'd probably be another 5 years out from expanding from even the current space, but it's been a huge blessing, and I'm super excited, just grateful to the community, your audience, and the other folks that have been just supporting us so far.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, it really depends, man. So most of it's spent doing operational things. Like in the morning, I'll do sales calls, mostly to fire departments right now, just calling the stations and asking to speak with the chief and see what kind of equipment they have available at the station. Doing marketing, so a bunch of stuff's on social media. We put out blog articles regularly, which I'll mention on Instagram from time to time. We've got the top 10 list, which you're on, obviously, which we refresh every year. I'll do State of the Union addresses like later in the year. Just talking about the state of the used gym market. So stuff like that, just to keep it fresh and keep us top of mind on social media. And then just taking orders and delivering orders and fulfilling orders at the warehouse. So we'll get, you know, online orders, walk-ins, people asking for quotes, arranging deliveries. And that keeps us pretty busy. And then obviously operational back-end stuff like bookkeeping and accounting, which is wonderful and annoying. Yeah, keeps the lights on. So and also looking for new space while I have time. So yeah, that's the day. It's just, you know, me as a business owner just sitting in an office that's about 105 degrees trying to figure out how to keep this business on the rails.
That makes sense. Can you tell me real quick about your inventory right now? Is it really just a little bit of everything with a mix of new and used? Could you tell me like what proportions are strength machines versus, and then also like what's new versus used, however you want to take it? Yeah,
sure. I'd say about anywhere from 10 to 30% of our okay, so maybe a 25-75 split, or maybe like a 15-85 split between new and used. The majority of our equipment is always going to be used, but we have a base contingent of like some basic home gym racks, plates, and bars that compose like our home gym setups that we always have as either factory second blemish stuff or actually new equipment. The rest of it is a combination of strength equipment, used plates and bars that we get in occasionally, dumbbells, and cardio. And the biggest of those would be strength and cardio. We tend to get a lot more, for the people listening, like ellipticals, treadmills, spin bikes, that kind of thing, than we do strength equipment. But the strength equipment is more popular and sells better. The cardio stuff is becoming more of a dime a dozen thing. It was much more popular during the pandemic than it is now. So I'm seeing prices kind of adjust and go down a little bit on that stuff. You've really got to make sure you're picking your battles on the cardio equipment, because you can pick some really junky cardio and it just will sit there for months and months and months, especially brands that nobody knows will just sit there for a long time. But yeah, that's about the split we have right now, and our inventory refreshes like every week with different cars. Actually, we just had, I think I posted some photos of it on our Instagram. You know, the old school Nautilus chain driven equipment? Yeah. That's, gigantic and weighs a metric ton. Yeah, we had, from a fire department, actually, we had like 6 pieces of Nautilus equipment. It was super cool, very smooth, and sold in a heartbeat to some like half a dozen collectors who just wanted the old stuff. And I marked it way down, but man, that stuff is very popular and it's nice. It's like it was probably 20, 30, maybe more years old, in great shape, and all chain driven. So it's just like repairing a bike. That stuff freaking lasts forever.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned earlier, it seems like the used market is creeping up on the new equipment prices we're seeing, which are also on the rise. So does that mean that you have to raise your prices for both new and used equipment these days?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So like some of our distributors, like you said, are getting this massive influx of equipment. So we just had a big buy from one of our distributors where we got a great deal on a bunch of like kettlebells, dumbbells. We're selling those at a massively discounted rate. Actually, stay tuned for July because that's even gonna cut into that even more. So stuff like that is going down for us. Benches and other equipment is going up on the new end, just like the market is. And then on the used side, so this is the interesting part for us because we're so new, we're only a couple years into this, I'm still finding and adjusting prices on used equipment. So the used equipment for us is actually coming down because we're getting better and better deals for bulk lots. So if you've seen our pricing structure, we're definitely down from the pandemic, and we're somewhat down from even just 6 months ago on pricing for individual items. And it's just me kind of figuring out the markets a little bit better. For other people, though, I mean, I am noticing used gym equipment prices going up steadily, and especially I would imagine for like refurbished equipment because labor costs are going up. But for us, honestly, we're just finding better deals, so our pricing is actually going the other way, which is great. I mean, works for me, and it helps us sell a little bit more. But that might be the reverse of what the market's actually doing, just because we're relatively new to the market. I don't know. Interesting. Hopefully, you can keep that up. Yeah, that's the goal. My goal is always to pass on good equipment at the best possible value that we can, and making sure that it's actually going to get used. I tell people all the time, if you're going to buy something from me and it's going to sit in your garage and it's going to just collect dust, please don't. I would rather you just find somebody else or not purchase it at all, or come back when you made a better decision about your training method and what you want to do. I really mean that. So part of finding a good deal for somebody is making sure that the equipment's actually going to stick with them for a long time and be used instead of just collecting dust. So part of the value proposition, I guess. Got it. So there's probably a wide variety of feedback you get when people first see your store or run across used equipment. I'm sure there's a lot of weird questions that people might ask, but oh my gosh, I'd be curious to know, like, just what's the biggest hurdle you face selling used equipment? Okay, so well, in terms of like people crapping on the business, I've had multiple people come in. This was especially early on, and they're like, "You don't have a lot of equipment," and I was in a lot of space at that point for us, and I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm like, we've got stuff on pallet racks. We've got stuff all over the floor. You can barely walk. We don't have enough. Okay. Have a nice day. So I'm like, what do you want? I mean, do you want a 100,000 square foot facility that's like the size of Montana? Like, what do you want from me? But no, in most cases, that's not the hurdle. The hurdle is, hey, do you have a warranty? This is used. What can you offer? And we always take care of our clients, but I think for anybody, whether they're buying on a used marketplace or they're buying from us, the question is, what's the usage? How many hours does this thing have if it's a cardio piece? What's worn? What's going to need to be replaced? And I always tell them, especially if you're purchasing used commercial equipment, it's going to last way longer than any residential piece, so you usually don't have to worry about that. Maintain it properly during its lifespan. You shouldn't have any problems. Don't stick electronics outside in the weather. Don't stick electronics in a non-air conditioned area, or just expect they're going to get fried, and you'll be fine. But that's a big hurdle. Oh, you don't offer a 30-day warranty. Oh, you don't offer a 90-day warranty. Well, no, you live halfway across the country in California. I'm sorry. I don't have anybody to repair or replace or take care of your equipment. If you're local, yeah, absolutely. But if something breaks, I mean, it's not going to, I will obviously either replace or refund you completely if it's, the day after you purchased it. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest hurdle. It's just this warranty question that comes up again and again. A lot of companies will do a full refurbishment of a cardio piece. They replace all the belts, the motor, all the wear parts, powder coat the entire thing, and it's as good as new. We just don't have that. We don't quite yet have the system to make that happen. And honestly, for most stuff, especially if it's a really good brand, Life Fitness Precor, Matrix, that stuff has been maintained in a commercial setting already, and it's good to go. It's not gonna cause you problems. But other than that, other than people just crapping on us for not having enough inventory, or us not having a warranty, I'm trying to think if there's any other objections that we've come across. I mean, not really. The main thing is just once you consult with the person coming in the door and really, I've said this a couple of times to people, and maybe this is backwards, but it's how I work. If I think there's a better option for you, I will tell you, even if it's not with us. And a lot of people hear that. I don't know if they believe it, but they hear that, and that just, I think it lends a little bit of credibility, but that's the goal. And I think once you say that to them, that gets over a lot of these objections, like, "Ooh, what's this?" or "What's that?" or "What?" A lot of the questions are going to be, is this good for my space? And that's where we can come in and kind of tell you if it's good or not. Is this elliptical going to be too big? Is this, one thing that people don't know, is this commercial grade treadmill going to fit in a regular wall outlet? Well, no. Let me explain why. You need to upgrade it. A lot of people will lie to you and tell you, yeah, it'll be fine. Or I kid you not, there have been companies that will literally switch out the plug for a regular residential plug that requires a 20 amp outlet and tell them you can just stick it in whatever. And then it fries the electronics like 6 weeks later. So, we try to avoid that kind of stuff, but it happens. So trust is like, besides the objections about warranties, I think just establishing base level of trust about some dude you've never seen before is important. One other thing I'll say is, because a lot of home gym owners haven't seen commercial grade equipment before, they'll ask a lot of questions about what's the best brand. And it's funny because, like I said, most commercial brands you can use in a residential setting for probably longer than you would ever want, and it'll never break. But people don't understand that, so you kind of have to explain, like, you're not buying Nordic Track, you're not buying Marcy, you're not buying Gold's Gym, you're not buying something that's going to... I had an NFL player that was running on a Nordic Track treadmill. He literally cracked the tread in half. This is like $3,000. He bought a brand new, it was like $3,000. I was like, bro, if you just bought like a sub $1,000 commercial grade treadmill, you would have never had this problem. Anyway, but I tell people stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, I get it now." I'm like, yeah, it's a totally different echelon of quality. So, like, getting over the hump on, this is commercial grade. This is totally different from what you've ever seen before. Let me explain what this looks like. That we get a lot of those questions too. So.
Got it. So just so I'm clear, what is the difference between a commercial grade treadmill versus a Nordic Track, like you mentioned, a home gym treadmill?
It honestly comes down to build quality. I can't explain it because I'm not a physical manufacturer, but when you lift them up and move them, there's a significant difference in weight, things that are moving or not moving, welds, heft, thickness of that layer underneath the actual tread, like the what do you call it? Not the tread, the deck. Components and parts that are built bigger to withstand pounding 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's the best way I can describe it, is these treadmills are meant to be run on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and thus will be built according to those standards. A residential grade treadmill would be meant to run on an hour every few days, maybe. So the
Gotcha.
Build differences are completely and totally different.
That's kind of what I thought you were going to say. Just one's beefier.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, there's some commercial grade treadmills that, I've heard from some gym owners like Star Trek, they've had some problems, but I think that comes down to model differences and not the fact that it's a commercial treadmill. So.
Got it. Your company is only really a few years old, and you've made quite a bit of headway in that time. I'd be curious to hear, in the next few years, what's something that you might try and do? Are you just going to try and get better at what you're doing now? Or you mentioned like installation. Is that something you might do? Like, establish the brand around firefighters and policemen, those sorts of things. I'd be curious to hear, though, what you think the next few years will look like for you.
Yeah, the long-term goal is to become a household name. If people hear fitness equipment, they hear Freedom Fitness, particularly in the used space. We want to be, our offering is nationwide, but we can always improve things like shipping rates and that kind of stuff just to make our offering more tenable. Leaning into the brand name, like I mentioned, with first responders and people that, serve, protect, and defend. I mean, short term, that looks like just continuing to expand our operation because we're still relatively small, especially compared to the big guys like Fitness Superstore and others out in California or even on the East Coast. But, there's still several brand arms of the company that we can create from a service, installation, maintenance standpoint, especially contractually with commercial facilities that I definitely want to continue to build out. We've got a little bit of that right now, but when you're at our stage, you can only service so many organizations and only a certain size of organization. So that's not to say we couldn't service like a Lifetime Fitness, which is a local commercial gym here. But there are some challenges with that, especially at our stage. So our goal is to continue to grow until we can just normally service those kinds of organizations and become a household name and kind of lean into who we are as a brand. But yeah, I mean, the first responder thing is going to be huge. I'm not a huge fan. You can probably, just from watching some of my content, I'm not a huge fan of government, but getting involved with these first responders, I mean, it's a necessity. You're going to deal with state, county, and local, and some federal, and that's fine. We'll continue to, move into that, and that'll present its own set of challenges. But I'm really more about the guys that are working for those organizations rather than the organization itself. So I like the relationships that we're establishing there. So short term, it's just continuing to expand our operation, and then long term, it's going to be just becoming a household name. And I think I could be wrong about this, but I keep a pretty damn close eye on the home gym space, maybe more than some, especially because of how big some of these organizations are. Like, I don't know that the Fitness Superstore, for example, is keeping an eye on the home gym space that much, but I think that gives us a little bit of a leg up on the grassroots community. And just, I want to keep staying connected with them and supporting them and continuing to educate and help people in the home gym space, particularly with used commercial equipment and stuff, and just bringing more awareness to that. So I don't want that to ever stop. We'll always have a place in the company for those guys and y'all in the home gym and garage gym space. So I don't want that to be lost on anybody. That's where this all started, and I want that to continue.
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, the company has to evolve eventually. I don't think you're going to hurt too many feelings by doing it the way you just mentioned. Let's talk about, and this is really the last topic I have, but just the future of the home gym industry in general. So do you have any thoughts on some trends we might see in the near future? We talked a little bit about strength sports and that sort of thing. But any specific trends? I know you've heard the podcast. We've talked about technology many times. Just any predictions for the future, I guess you could go with.
I wrote down a few. So from a technology standpoint, I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on measurement, metrics, form even. I've seen a lot of these apps that measuring bar speed and that kind of thing. I think there's going to be apps that are going to start measuring people's form, because if you go over to barbell medicine or even starting strength forums, which is where a lot of these people are starting to congregate in the home gym space when they're first starting and finding, oh, hey, powerlifting is really cool. They're asking for form checks all the time. And I haven't seen, I could be wrong, but a lot of these apps are starting to integrate these form check things. If they could just automate that, I think that's coming along with bar speed stuff. There's going to be a huge amount of crowding. There already is a huge amount of crowding in certain areas of equipment like barbells. There's way too many barbells right now, and I think they're all starting to kind of blur together. So I think in the future there's going to be even more crowding in the home gym space, especially as big players like Life Fitness continue to pour money into the Hammer Strength home gym lines. More and more folks are going to realize this home gym thing is sticking around. And even as the recession hits, I think that's going to grow even more. We might see another resurgence, interestingly enough, of the home gym market as we have another recession. Not necessarily a prediction, but it may be something will happen. I'm not sure. And then the last thing, I think the thing that frustrates me the most right now about manufacturers of gym equipment is that they're not focusing on the spaces where the gym equipment is. And by that, I mean like climate control and different types of flooring to level the sloping garage floor. Like, I haven't seen any companies that are working on shims for deadlift platforms and AC that is compact enough that doesn't take up a whole ton of space, but can actually heat and cool effectively and quickly a 300 square foot or 200 square foot 2-car, 1-car garage. And I think any company that jumps on that right now is going to crush, because you can get split AC systems, which are wildly expensive. You can get a heater, like a little dinky heater that takes 30 minutes to heat up the space. You can get a fan, a box fan, which is going to blow hot air around. I have not seen an effective system that is compact, sits in a corner, and you don't have to think about, comes on when you walk into the gym, heats it up, cools it down like that. I think climate control is going to be the next generation of like innovation within the home gym space. And I'm surprised more people haven't gotten on that train yet. I think that's because all of these manufacturers are focusing on the equipment side, and they're thinking, oh, the HVAC technicians or somebody else in some other sector is going to take care of this. And I just think that's kind of backwards.
Interesting. You think they have the knowledge to do something like that? Like a typical product engineer?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know that you have to be an HVAC technician to create a effective climate control system. I mean, might be speaking out of turn here, but I feel like if you have an engineering background, you already have some knowledge of how those systems are supposed to work. Or we were talking about acquisitions before. Maybe if you don't already have the knowledge, you just bring some engineers in that already do work for those companies, and they just start creating those product lines for you. Or you acquire a smaller company that's doing something that's starting to look like it might be successful. Rogue could do this, Rep Fitness could do this, anybody could do this. And you create those climate control systems for the home gym space. That might be what it takes, as opposed to like using your existing engineering resources for something that maybe you don't think will be successful, but I think would. That might be the better way to go.
Cool. That's an interesting take. No one has ever said anything about that, but that's really at the top of the list for most people. It's like the temperature in the garage. Like we talked about, I think before the podcast, it's super hot outside. I'm sitting in here in my garage. It's like 11 o'clock PM. It's 85 degrees in here. If you're watching, you can see me. I'm glistening. So yeah, I think I like that answer. And then, it's something that it can't be too difficult, right? Like if you truly saw how many people had home gyms and you're someone that works in like Lowe's corporate, like why don't we try and solve this problem?
And I think like many things, it's just a matter of rebranding, right? So you take the compact portable AC unit and you call it the home gym portable AC unit. Maybe that's all it takes. I don't know. And you just provide another design, like another hose to get more airflow within the space, and then you rebrand it. They've done that a lot with so you've got stall mats, obviously, which are for horse stalls, but they're also used in home gym spaces. And as soon as you call it a home gym mat, the price rises by $10.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's the same product or not, you can debate. But, there's a premium for people in the home gym space that are looking for stuff like that. And I think there's a market for it. So maybe it's just a matter of rebranding something, but I think it could be much more than that. That's even a few weeks ago, as we were chatting on the podcast with Adam from Garage Gym Lab, and we were like, have you used anything that has really helped? And he said the same answer as a lot of people, just insulation. Yeah. Do your best and hope, it's still not going to be perfect, but yeah. So, okay, cool. Anything else? Any other trends you can think of? No, but I wanted to mention just at the very end here that we have two big events that come up every single year for our business. So I've decided going forward that, true to our name, on July the 4th, so Independence Day, we're going to have a massive store sale. And then obviously in Black Friday, it's gonna be the other one. So 2 sales a year. But I just want to let everybody know that Jake's an affiliate of ours, so you can use code GGE, so Garage Gym Experiment, so GGE at checkout for 5% off. And we're going to be offering, you'll see this, we're going to be promoting and offering like our deepest discounts of the entire year on July the 4th, and probably the days surrounding as well, just to keep things going a little bit. But for people who are listening to the podcast or following Jake, I've got some special discounts for you guys, and you can use that code at checkout in addition to the stuff, if you're listening, in addition to the discounts that we offer on the website. So this will not be something like, oh, you can't use his code and you just have to use the discounts on the website. No, we're going to use an additional discount because we love you guys. So just want to let you guys know about that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Before we go, can you just tell everybody one more time where to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking for us on social media, it's going to be Freedom Fitness Equipment pretty much everywhere in TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn. And then on Instagram, we had an issue. And so we're Freedom Fitness Equipment 1, the number 1. And if you want to find us on the website, it's www.freedomfitnessequipment.com. And if you're interested in calling me or want to find out more about the business, you can actually text me. I don't mind giving out my number. It's 980-216-4860. Text me or call me, harass me, stalk me. I don't care. And I'd love to help you out.
That's also a first phone number. All right. Well, Ashton, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. That's going to do it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake.